Hi, my name is Evan Yee, and for my American Indian History project, I chose to do it in the format of a timeline that was made through Wix, and you can access it online. And it's going to focus on seven key events. These include legal suits, these include some um, acts made by legislators and U.S. officials, like the Removal Act and the Dawes Act that fall under my main topic and argument about how Native American reservations have ultimately seen progress throughout the establishment of the Iroquois up until the 1900s for the 1934 Reorganization Act. And it has improved significantly on their ability to attain the power of self governance. And it has also showed their drive, their advocacy, their want for the righteousness of what they had to obtain back from them from the era of assimilation and before that, the era of being colonized and used for labor and having their resources stripped and also the land. And the sides I'll be talking about are different tribes spanning across different parts of the nation, different regions, including the South, the Southwest, the Southeast, the Northern Plains. And the main story I wanted to talk about these events in is going to take place chronologically, and it's going to follow the evolution of how they were able to help each other out, um, interconnectedly throughout tribes. And I wanted to symbolize that in the format of a timeline because I wanted to make it easier for the user to scroll through and have an easy flow of the layout of the different events that happen throughout time. And the main inspiration for the project is that in high school I learned about boarding schools for so-called Indians. And I read a couple books and they talked about how experiences in boarding schools it ultimately led them to being hunted down for bone marrow. I forgot the name of the book, but that was pretty interesting for me. And I wanted to capture that essence with this timeline and see how the story has unfolded and how it turns out today. And it's going to teach the user that there has been a lot of prejudices for hundreds of years, predating the eras of assimilation and the eras of colonization, even. And the tribes' perspectives will challenge those of manifest destiny, western expansion, and it will also challenge the perceptions of them being uncivilized savages, um, living in secondary societal ranks to the eyes of the U.S. And I'd say my major key findings would be from a few of my sources would be the um, Fort Laramie Fort Laramie Treaty, which was when land was stripped and the Lakota were they culturally they were foragers, they were hunters. They didn't have a sense of farming because that wasn't based on their beliefs. And after the signing of the treaty for the second time, it initiated projects for farming, agricultural practices, but they didn't really follow that too much because it went against their beliefs altogether of being attached to the earth sentimentally. And if they were to do farming practices, then it would cut their connection with Mother Nature. And that's one of the key findings I've found for the sake of my timeline and why it matters so much that in order for them to pass these certain acts, they need to band together and they need to work together, um, get behind their own beliefs and work forward from that. Um, Even if they had altercations before between tribes or not, that they should stick up for each other and they should ultimately not fall under the short end when it comes to these different assimilative acts and those that discredit them for their ability to have self-governance over themselves. And I'd say another key part of the inspiration of the project would be from my neighbor Courtney, and he was part of the Blackfoot tribe. And it almost inspired me to do a podcast, but I wanted to do a timeline because the chronological story made more sense because he is much like a storyteller. So it was due justice for me to do it to take the form of a timeline. And so I got some experience from talking with him and exchanging information of his experiences, and it really put me in a position of building my sympathy for all these different types of tribes anywhere in the nation, in the borders of it. And the most important part of this project is for me to understand their challenges, and it puts into perspective a lesson of how we should we should speak out, we should voice out these injustices based on these false beliefs. And it teaches us to have these different narratives because every narrative is two-sided. And that's why I wanted to center this timeline based on the events and perspectives and the processes of these legal suits, of how these different acts were passed, and how throughout my research I've found a lot of effective uses of advocacy, a lot of effective uses of their belief system, a lot of effective uses of their leadership skills. So that is it for my findings, and I hope to finish this project soon.